Hello everyone, welcome into our latest live broadcast. It's Tuesday, the 3rd of February, 2026. I'm CareyHolzman and today reviewing some remote control, remote access devices. If you want to be able to control a computer from inside of your building or across the world, they have devices now that are very, very affordable that require no software, no subscription, and they are specifically designed as a hardware remote solution. Now, I hear a lot of people thinking this would be great for tech support. It is not for tech support. This is for remote access to a computer that you are actually using. So for example, the big data centers that have the servers often don't have any keyboards, mice, or monitors. There's just racks of lights blinking on and off. And when those things need to be configured or worked on, we have something called a crash cart we use in the industry, where it's typically a laptop on a little push cart, and you plug the laptop into one of the boxes, and then you can see the screen on the laptop, control the keyboard and the mouse, do what you need to do, unplug it, move to the next server. But and by the way, those were like $10,000, $15,000, okay? This whole remote access thing. When we initially started looking at these as they became available about 2 years ago, when we started seeing them, a lot of home users just don't get it. They just can't seem to wrap their mind around it. And so if that's okay, it may not be for you. But I'll give you some real world examples of how we use it and why. When we use programs like Instant House Call or other software, TeamViewer, UltraViewer, et cetera, we need to be in Windows for that software to work. But what happens when you can't get into Windows? Or what happens if you need to get into the BIOS and make changes? You need to be there in person to do that. So these devices allow for you to access the entire screen output of that computer, on or off, in BIOS or in Windows. They don't handle multiple monitors. If you got 2 or 3 monitors, it ain't gonna work for you. This is intended for a computer that has no monitor, or their latest versions has 1 monitor only, because these aren't designed to be a remote support tool. They're designed to give you access to a computer located somewhere else. Here's a few examples of how I use mine. We have Studio A, and here we have Studio C. I need to check in on Studio A. I've got a computer over there. Now, I would probably be okay with just using remote access software such as Instant House Call that requires Windows to be up and running. But what I can't do with Instant House Call is I can't turn the computer off and back on again, which I can with these. So if I'm not at Studio A 3 or 4 weeks out of the month, then it makes sense to go ahead and shut that computer off. And then when I want to check in on it, and sometimes there's a file I need and I don't have it here. So I quickly want to log in after 6 weeks or something, where that computer would normally just be on and running. Well, now I can wake on LAN and turn that computer on remotely without any wiring. They do have ATX wiring that can go in for physical powering off and resets. My computers, I mean, we don't see blue screens much anymore, but beside the point, I will turn the computer on remotely using Wake on LAN. I will log into the browser to this device, and I have a secure VPN connection to the computer at the other studio that has 1 monitor. I see that monitor on my screen. I control that keyboard, that mouse. I can transfer. Well, I can't transfer files in the way that you might be thinking, but yes, I can transfer files, and I can just have full access if I need to update the BIOS. I can do all of that without leaving this place right here. Another way that I use remote KVM would be when I'm setting up computers. I like to set up computers down here on the bench. So for example, I've got a computer here that's been sitting in a box and it needs to be updated. It's an old 8th gen Intel NUC. Okay, well, I can stand behind this desk and I can hit Windows Update, and you know how long these updates take. You've been there firsthand with me to see how long these updates take. I don't want to keep going down the stairs and walking around to the back of this table so I can see the screen over here and identify where are we in Windows Update. Not to mention having the screen powered on for hours and hours and hours, even though I'm upstairs. So I need to be able to keep an eye on it. Heck, even just installing Windows. Now, these often go to customers. I don't want my remote access on a customer's machine. Because these don't require any software, All I do is plug it in and go upstairs, and I can install Windows. I can do everything I need to do, updates, and I never have to get out of my chair. I can even shut the computer down, then come back downstairs here to the studio, and this will be off. And all I do is unplug the remote tool, dunk, dunk, dunk. It goes in a box, it's ready to go to the customer. No software, no subscriptions. Now, some of you were thinking, wouldn't that be great to access, to help my parents or something? No. No, you want remote software. You want software in Windows. This isn't for that solution. Could you use it for that solution? Yes, if you like misery, you could totally buy one of these and use it instead of a free piece of software like UltraViewer. Okay, this is going to set you back a little over $100. This one's closer to $200. And if that's what you want to do, I'm not telling you you can't. I'm telling you you're making your life difficult. More difficult than it needs to be. More often than not, technical support calls involve Windows. They don't involve having to get into the BIOS. So if you're getting into the BIOS a lot, or if the computer has 2 or more screens, these aren't going to help. Well, let me rephrase. If you get into the BIOS a lot, yeah, these are going to help. If you have a computer that you want to use remotely that no one else uses, it's just sitting there, like in my example, Studio A. It's just sitting there. Do I just leave it on all the time so I can use the remote software in Windows? I'd rather not, since I maybe 2-3 times a month is all I'm logging into it. Does it have multiple monitors? No. Why would it? No one sits at it, except maybe 2 or 3 times a month. If I visit Studio A, I need to see the monitor. Okay, so one monitor. If you want to see multiple monitors, that's just not going to be appealing outside of Windows. You often have to be in Windows for both monitors or more than one monitor to actually work. Otherwise, by default, either the other monitors don't come on or they just display the same image, negating the whole point of it. So these are tools designed for a computer located somewhere else that no one else is using. So ideally, you don't even have a monitor turned on. You could have it hooked up because maybe from time to time someone does. Maybe it's you. Go there, like I sometimes go to Studio A. I want to use the computer when I'm there. So there's a monitor, but that monitor is turned off. And when I'm not there, I can shut the computer off and then turn it back on remotely using either one of these remote tools and have full access to it with no software, no subscriptions. That's what they're designed to do. Otherwise, use software. The software is free, and it is not a replacement for software. It's an alternative solution for a different problem. That's the hard time I'm having explaining this to the audience, is so much of the audience can only see this as a remote support tool. And technically it is a remote support tool, but what it's really intended to do is to take a computer located anywhere in the world and put it right in front of you virtually as though you were sitting at it. Nobody else, just you. Okay. When you're dealing with remote software, you're typically dealing with someone that's sitting at the other computer at the same time, most of the time, right? And you're talking them through things and explaining things. This is not for that. So could you use it for that? Yes. Could you use a school bus as your main means of transportation to just transfer yourself and nobody else and leave the rest of the bus empty? You could, but why would you? So with that being said, the Nano KVM-Pro was the second generation of Nano KVM that came out from sipeed. And prior to this, the Pi KVM, you were looking at around $400 or $500 and much larger and more limited in use. But it led to these little development boards and projects that are all open source, community driven, and created the Nano KVM, which was well under $100. And people said, I'd really like to be able to go 4K instead of 1080. People said, I'd like to be able to pass through the video to a monitor at the same time, just kind of patch this in between the monitor and the computer so this gets the same signal the monitor gets. So they added 2 HDMI ports, one in and one out. They said, I'd like to be able to hear audio. I'd like to be able to use the microphone and the webcam. Look, I don't know who these people are and why they do that, but they added it. And GLINet came out with the Comet, which was the competitor, which was more expensive and more limited. Then they came out with the Comet Pro, which is more expensive and more limited. GLINet, I like them as a company, and my hammering on them has mostly to do with price. If they want to give us something that's not as capable, bring the price down. This is basically the same as this, only this is more flexible, requires less cables to run, has expandable trans-flash memory card to expand the virtual storage on it. This does not. This has a more versatile screen. This does not. The size difference is incredible, and the price difference, this is almost a third cheaper than this, by a third, when this one doesn't even keep up with this one. So why would you buy this? There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm saying if you could spend $180 for this or $110 for this, wouldn't you rather have the one that's more capable, more flexible, and smaller? I would, but if I couldn't get this, this would be my second choice. So what happened was these were both Kickstarters. And with Kickstarter campaigns, you're going to be first. That means, you know, look, the project may never come to fruition, or when it does come out, it may run late. And when you finally get it, it's probably very unpolished. It's going to need a lot of work. We have email. Thank you. Thank you. So I knew when I signed up for the Nano KVM-Pro and the Comet Pro on Kickstarter, I knew that the product we get will be 4 months away. The money I put down, I may never get a product or my money back. That's the risk of it. And when I finally do get the product, it's probably not going to work 100%. And so I decided to take the viewers on a journey and have you experience the Kickstarter process with me, from ordering to waiting to receiving the product. And so far, every Kickstarter we've backed, we've always received the product, pretty much when it was projected. But the condition of the software, the refinement of the product's usability, it takes on average about a year with any new product, and these aren't the exception, before they could really get all the bells, whistles, and features up and running and solid and stable. So these are constantly being updated because they just came out. This is the most recent one, the one that's the most expensive and least flexible and least capable. This one just came out. This one's been out months ahead of time, still much, much cheaper, and they've had a lot more time to refine it. In fact, I have never seen more updates come from a company than from Sipeed, who makes the Nano KVM. They're releasing an average of one update every 6 days. But at this point, I don't know what's left to refine. We did have a lot of concerns, and a couple of you in our chat room joined us in that journey, and we're frustrated getting it online and some other issues. They've all been resolved. All of that stuff's been resolved. So if Sipeed's going to keep coming out with updates every 6 days or every 7 days, it's for features I don't benefit from. I'll still grab the update, don't get me wrong, but it went from me not using this to me now this is my favorite KVM of the batch, and I'll explain more why. They also, the folks who make this, refined it aesthetically a little bit. They found some ways to redesign it so that this is the Kickstarter version with the silver button, and the new version that they just came out with, they've improved the, well, we'll look on Twitter here. They posted the new face and rear of the device along with the new knob, and explaining it at the top of the screen here why they did that. Also true with the follow-up. This is where I'm getting my information from them. I have no direct communication with Sipeed at all. There's no arrangement here. We bought this, we're customers, and we're sharing our real experience with you. And so the information I share with you may be incomplete or even misunderstood from what I'm interpreting from the posts that they put, Sipeed puts on Twitter or x.com. So I said, okay, now that they've got the software refined, they said it's time to refine the unit. Whether it was manufacturing cost, I don't know. The button itself, I guess they found it to be a little difficult, slippery, so they made it a little easier to grip, made it more aesthetically pleasing by, instead of silver, making it matte black. And they changed the packaging to be more consumer friendly. So before, the packaging was just kind of a plain brown box. Now you get a nice box with a get started guide. This was never included before, because the people who were on Kickstarter backing this project were technical people. Now they've reached a point where they're ready to sell it to regular, non-technical people. And so it's packaged accordingly, as you would expect a consumer product. So what have they changed in the packaging? Well, here is, if I can get it out, here's the new version. Now internally, it's exactly the same. This is really just an aesthetic change. Let me walk it up to the camera and I'll show you close up. So aesthetically, we have basically the same thing. On the back, it's all the same. This little slot that you see right there, you can put a little trans flash card in there and add up to 2 terabytes of virtual storage, just like having a 2 terabyte USB flash drive connected. Then you've got an HDMI in, HDMI out, you've got USB power, USB keyboard and mouse, which will also provide power, which the Comet Pro will not do. You've also got an Ethernet plug here, or you can run these completely wireless on your network. They also make a version where this is PoE, Power over Ethernet. So if you don't want to use the Wi-Fi, you could plug Ethernet in and use that Ethernet, assuming you have a Power over Ethernet switch, to power the unit. Or what I do is I power the unit through one USB that I need to use anyway for keyboard and mouse. I can literally plug this in with 2 cables. Just the USB and the HDMI, and when the computer turns on, well, depending on the USB port of each computer, the computers that I use, I make sure the USB ports are always on, regardless if the computer's on or off. Most modern computers can do that. You have to switch it on and off in the BIOS. Older computers, if the computer turns off, then this turns off. Then you can't access it. So then there is the option to add additional power for that reason, so that you could then turn the computer on, but you have to connect to this first, and this has to be turned on. So again, for the computers that I use, all I need is 2 cables. On the Comet Pro, I need 4 cables, 4. And I just want to hook these up and be done. I don't want to sit there running a whole ton of cables. I don't use the video pass-through. I think it's a waste of it doesn't make any sense to me why somebody would use this tool in a way it wasn't designed and then say, please redesign the tool. And so they did. They redesigned it, but I don't use the function. I do use I do use the Wi-Fi. That's one less cable. I don't have to plug an Ethernet cable in. So I can get this hooked up quick. They've also added a sticker here on the bottom. I forgot to show this to you. On the new unit that tells you what version you have, because they all look alike. So is this the Wi-Fi version? Is it the PoE or Power over Ethernet version? Or is it both? They've also added a sticker that warns you these do get warm. This was one of my concerns on this unit. They also showed on Twitter, and I don't know why they changed it, but they showed a magnet going in here so you could attach that right to the side of a computer. I don't know why they never came out with it. I don't suppose anything would stop you from buying a magnet and sticking it on there if you wanted to do that. And this unit does have the trans flash card installed. This is an optional thing that you can provide to yourself, where you just get the trans flash card, slide it in. If you don't use this, you get about 28 gigs of free space on both this unit and on the Comet Pro. But if that's not enough for you, at least with the Nano KVM-Pro, you can expand it with a trans flash card. With the GLI net, you could just get like a regular USB flash drive and plug it in. It is expandable in just a different way. But you can see, you know, not only is this more money, look at the size difference between these two guys. So again, nothing terrible about this. And if it was half the price, I'd probably be singing a different tune. But for as much as it costs, I can't imagine why you just wouldn't buy one of these. However, there is something else. You can go on Amazon and buy this and have it probably tomorrow. These units being sold on Amazon are shipping out of China. So it's going to take a week to 2 weeks before you get it. There's no tariffs. There's no surprises. It arrives like any other package. This one I ordered from AliExpress because it's not yet on Amazon. They will get it on Amazon by the end of the month. The Chinese New Year is this month. They're going to take 2 weeks to celebrate the New Year. 1 week of those 2 weeks, you're off work. So the factories close, everything's shut down. So we don't expect everything kind of get back to normal in China till after their New Year, Year of the Horse. And at that point, at some point, they'll update the Amazon page. So I really, really wanted this. And I just ordered it from AliExpress. I ordered it on January 23rd. I got it on January 30th. That was far sooner than they estimated. I'm not telling you how long it's going to take. I don't know. There's weather conditions and distance and whatever, wherever you live. And so I'm just telling you, this is what happened. I ordered on the 23rd. I expected it around February 3rd or 4th at the soonest. And it arrived on January 30th. Just like any other package, no fees, no dues, no signatures, nothing. Just a box at the door. There it is. So then I was super excited, and I haven't tried it out yet. So I'm saving it for this video. We'll power it on. I'm sure there's going to be an update since they've been releasing updates every 6 days. Again, the internals on both units are exactly the same. So I'm already really familiar with this, and all this is mostly is a black knob difference, but I gotta have it. In the box, we also have, this is a UART or serial port cable and maybe an ATX controller. If you were to use this on a tower PC, you can put this in line with your power switch and reset switch of your case so that you can remotely press the power and reset switch electronically. I don't personally use these. Also, I don't generally use these on tower computers, although Studio A is. I still don't use it. I just use Wake on LAN. Most of the time when I'm using these, I'm using them on mini PCs and laptops, so there's no way for me to control the power on those other than Wake on LAN. Also under here we have a USB-C to A cable for your USB keyboard and mouse. We have a USB-C to A cable if you need to provide additional power, optionally, not an option here. We have an HDMI cable here, and what did I do with it? They include another HDMI cable, which doesn't make any sense to me. Why are they giving you 2 HDMI cables? Well, Carey, you genius, they gave you 2 HDMI ports. Okay, except what's the other HDMI port for? Your monitor. Well, how's your monitor plugged in now? Is it wireless? You probably have an HDMI cable that you're going to unplug from the back of your computer that goes to your monitor, and you're going to plug it in here. You're going to use the one you already are using. And then you'll use the included one to go from here back to the computer if you wanted to do the loop out. But what's interesting is this HDMI cable is very small, short, and thin. And the one that's included in the package, put it somewhere. Where did I put it? Hold on a second. I thought I was ready for the show today, and I guess not. Come on, Carey. Here it is. Here it is right here. So in the box, when I received the package from AliExpress, there was this with this on top of it. And this is maybe a 6-foot thicker HDMI cable. The longer the HDMI cable is, the more likely it's got to be a little bit thicker to carry that signal without degradation. And if you're wondering why aren't they both the same thickness, that's probably why. Although the difference between them is minor, and I've never taken one of these out of the bag. I would never be hooking up the other HDMI out to a monitor that doesn't have a cable. I don't know why they include this. Now, I can't complain for the price, but you're still paying for it. You know, it's still built into the price, and I think they could leave this out of the package. It's even thrown in. It doesn't fit in the box. It's thrown in like it is an afterthought, and I think it's a complete waste of materials. So, you know, I will find a criticism for any of this stuff, but overall, this has, since it's been updated, become my favorite go-to KVM, and all the other KVMs are dead to me. And that's because if we price the competitors, like the Jet KVM, the Pico KVM, even the old original Nano KVM, they're only a few dollars difference. A Jet KVM is $100. This is $110. Why not get the more powerful 4K, you know, with this, you know, all the features this has, the video loop out, everything that it has, faster processor. Why not do that for $10 more, is all I'm saying. So how did I order it? Well, the way I ordered it is, well, I'll just show you. I go to Sipeed's website because, like I said, it will be available on Amazon probably in March. The version they're selling on Amazon right now is this version, and it's still shipping from China. It's still going to take a week to two for you to get it. But I wanted this specific version. And in order to do that, what I did is I went over to, here we go. I went over to sipeed.com, sipeed.com. I went over here to where it says store. And there's two places Sipeed sells: Taobao, which I've never used, I don't know anything about it, and AliExpress, which we've ordered from before. Sipeed makes a lot of different products, not just the KVMs. So I'm going to click on AliExpress. Now that's going to bring up Sipeed's store. Now they do let you know during the period of time of February 11th through the 24th, they're on holiday for the New Year. That's a good full 2 weeks they're off. Most places only take a week off, but you know, this is the culture of China. This is how they do things. So after, let's say, the end of February anyway, things will be back to normal. But if you're wondering, if you order between now and February 24th, what the delays are, why is it taking so long? It's because you ordered during their national holiday, okay? That's normal and to be expected. You should not be surprised by that. I'm going to scroll down here. Keep scrolling, and it says, here's the category of items we manufacture. Which one are you interested in? And it lists all their project boards. And the one we're interested in is the first one right here, the Nano KVM. That's going to take you to their AliExpress Sipeed store. I mention this because there's a lot of other sellers of this device. They're called them traders in China. Trader, like Trader Joe's. And they often sell for more money and may not have the same shipping delivery efficiency or communication that Sipeed does. Now you notice the price says $25. This is an AliExpress thing. AliExpress will show you the lowest price of the accessories that are related to this. Okay, they don't show you the accessories. You go, wow, that's a great price, $25. And this is the one we're interested in, right? Just look at the picture. We don't want, this is last 2 years ago, right? These are some older models. Click here, and finally we get to the page we're looking for. And what they're selling for $25 is the LED strip, which I think is a complete waste of money and time. And I don't want to hear people talk about how expensive RAM is, but then they just flush money down the toilet for lights. Now over here is the internal kit. Like if you have a tower computer and you don't want this external, you want to mount it inside the computer, that's what this is. It's the exact same thing in a different package, and it's got a little screen on the end of it. I don't know if they're going to show it, but we did review this, by the way, but there's a little teeny tiny screen on the end of this so you can get your IP address or information. And then the next one over, notice the price changes, and notice this is the Wi-Fi and Power-over-Ethernet version. It's $120. The next one over, here is the KVM-Pro with Wi-Fi and PoE for $110. And the very last one, this is what I ordered, $110. This is what I ordered. There's $10 shipping, and I think there was another $10 in, or $8 in tax or something. I think my total price was $128, still a good $50 less than the Comet Pro, but I could have the Comet Pro overnight from Amazon if I needed it that desperately. If you want to pay that much more because you're impatient and have a device that's physically larger and less flexible, that's your choice. This was my choice. So $110. It says pre-order, and it says it will release on February 8th, but clearly it's already been released. And when they shut down, they don't just shut down Sipeed, they shut down all the factories. So if the reason this says release, which I'm not sure why, is because they ran out of inventory, then they have to wait for the factories to reopen to resume production. Okay, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. I think mine said it wasn't released till February 3rd, and I got it on January 30th. So I don't put a lot of faith in this, but I'm also not in a hurry. I know when I order it, it's on its way. It's coming all the way from China. I typically expect 10 to 14 days, and I got it in 7 days. All right, if you're impatient or intolerant, just wait until it becomes available on Amazon. I mean, you're going to wait longer. I don't know how that solves a patience problem, but or don't buy it. okay, because that is standard policy and practice when you order out of China, even if it's Temu, right? Whatever it is, it doesn't have to be an electronic item, no tariff, none of that nonsense. It's already in the price, everything's done. And AliExpress will take PayPal as your payment. Now, when it becomes available on Amazon, and hopefully they'll stock it locally, so you won't have to wait for the shipping, I expect the price will also be a little bit higher for that convenience. So bear that in mind as well. All right, let me jump over to the chat room because I was super excited to get today started. Just to give you a flat out look at what we're going to do today, I'm going to hook this up. We're going to hook it up to this. I'm going to demonstrate how it works, including demonstrating how we get the update. And ideally, it should already be exactly the same as this one, which I am very familiar with because I use it a lot, and address any questions or concerns you have, or if I've not been clear about how these are intended to be used. If you have questions about it, I'll do my best to provide answers. But first, hello to our friends in the chat room. Thank you to our friend Buster, who sends an Amazon gift card, as always, prior to the show. And he says the temperature in Edinburgh, Scotland right now, where he lives, is 36 degrees Fahrenheit, or 2.2 degrees Celsius. Sounds like it's warming up over there. We're in the 80s, 80 degree Fahrenheit range in Phoenix, way warmer than normal. John Williams joins us, and Mark Baggett. John Williams, as well as Jonathan Fells and Crayons at says hello. There's Xander Vanderhoven joining us, along with Andy W6AD, Eddie Casanova. I also see Sean Skinner and Mark Baggett say hello in the chat. Of course, our channel administrator, Marlena, is hanging out in there saying hello to everybody. And Calvin says hello in the chat room. There's Dave Leonard joining. David Graham says hello. Spider-Man the Hero says hello. There's Doman 2000. W.E. Holmes, Tim Davern, Nicholas Barlow, John Rogers, and Robert Jones saying hello in our chat room. Tyler says hello from West Virginia. And I also see Jose Lopez with a $1 super chat. Thank you, Jose. And John Lewis joining us from Brazil says hello. Peter Retired also saying hello in the chat. And Mara reminds us to check our emails. So let me just take a quick look in our email. And it's our friend Mark Gaines with an Amazon gift card in lieu of a super chat. Thank you to Mark Gaines. And of course to our friend Buster and everybody who's a member in green. Thank you for supporting our channel, because we go out and pay for these with our own money. Every one of these, there is no sponsorship with these. There's no relationship with any of these companies. We're just an average consumer, just like you are, with our average experience, just like you have. And while our experiences may differ, I'm just sharing with you my personal experience and my personal values. They don't mean to represent you, your values, your tolerances, or your needs. I'm just sharing with you mine. If you want to share yours, we'd love it for you to email us and share your experience with us. We love hearing from real people with real experiences. I have enough listening to Reddit and my friend or this person or this content creator. It's all gossip and nonsense. So when I know it's coming from a real person and I know it's their own personal experience, I love that. You could send me your personal experience, even though I may not, you and I may have different values to what you expect and what I expect. That doesn't negate the value of your opinion, right? From hands-on experience. That's what I'm trying to get to. When we're talking about what somebody else said, let them tell me directly. Otherwise, I just don't have time for gossip. All right, with that, let me get back over here and we'll get ready to hook this up and demonstrate it. So this is an example of how I use this. I've got a computer that's been sitting here for a while and I want to sell it. So before I sell it, I need to wipe it clean, reinstall Windows, put on the drivers, make sure everything works, do all the updates. It takes a couple hours. So I don't want to keep coming downstairs, stepping around back behind this bench and checking on it and up and down and up and down. All right, so I have a very unique use case scenario I don't expect any of you would have. So how do we hook this up? In the most basic terms, we'll take the HDMI cable, we need this, and one of these USB-C to A cables. Those are the only two cables that I need. That's it. My needs. This one I won't use. This I won't use. I don't need the documentation. Everything else can go right back in the box, just the way we took it out. That's it. The rest of this, I won't use it. Now, maybe my needs will change in the future, so I won't throw it away, but I have no use for the other cables and accessories personally. So here's an HDMI cable. We're going to take the HDMI cable. Let's go to camera 2. And we're going to plug that in as close to the edge right here. This is the HDMI input. That means the signal coming from the computer is going to input into this. And then if we want to take that and output it to our monitor, we'll take our monitor cable, plug it in there. I don't use this. You can, I don't. Okay? So we're going to plug that in. That's HDMI. Cable 1 of 2. Here is the USB type C to A. Get rid of that. And this type C cable, and this is very important because these all do different things. There's 3 type C plugs here. We want to go to the one closest to the edge. So that it's real easy to remember. Just 2 cables closest to the edge. Now, because this is brand new, I've not configured it for Wi-Fi yet. So for our first power on, I will put Ethernet in here. Although you can touch the little screen or use the little knob and select your Wi-Fi and password the hard way if you want to. And then we have a little plastic cover that covers the screen on shipping, pretty standard on electronics today, to keep the screen from getting scratched up. We're going to take these 2 cables and we're going to take our little mini PC here and we're going to plug in to our HDMI out and any USB port. Any one of them, doesn't matter. That's it. This needs power. And this needs internet if I want to access the internet on this computer. This will get its power from the USB cable, and it will transmit my keyboard and mouse on the streamer over to this unit and output this unit's video right onto the streamer through a browser like a website. That's why no software or software subscription is needed. If you want to do this over the internet, you set this up with a something like tailscale or zero tier. Those are also free. And through GitHub, you'll create a free account and you create your own VPN tunnel that will enable you to access this from anywhere in the world. If you want to set that up, we won't go through that today because it involves setting up accounts and passwords that I wouldn't want to make a public video displaying my accounts. All right, so let's grab it. First of all, we need power. So this cracks me up. This power brick is almost as big as the unit. That's how far mini PCs have come, by the way. This is an 8th gen Intel NUC. And look how much smaller the power bricks have gotten and the mini PCs have gotten in just a few years. This still uses the full-size C13 computer power cable too. So let's go plug that in so it has power. So down here somewhere, I have my standard PC power cable. Right here, we'll plug that in. Okay, so now the computer has power. And I do need internet access on this. Now, this computer does have Wi-Fi, but I'm not configuring the Wi-Fi because why would I configure my Wi-Fi on a computer that's going to a customer? It's unprofessional, it's sloppy, and it's a security risk. So I'm going to run a hardline cable into it. Okay, but you could run this wireless. This has Wi-Fi. This also has Wi-Fi, and I can run this wireless. but I have to configure it first. I don't want to configure it through the screen. That takes too much time. So I'll take another Ethernet cable and plug it in. We're all done. This keyboard and this mouse that I'm using to control this stream is working through this computer. Typically, when you see me fire up a machine for testing, I bring out a separate keyboard and a separate mouse, and I run the video output to this computer. This is a little different. We're going to run the video output of this into the browser. And any computer that has access to a browser, a smartphone, a tablet, Apple or Linux, it doesn't matter. It brings it up as a browser website. Think about the possibilities there. All right, so with all this plugged in, I need to turn this on. So we'll hit the power button. This is that really cool Intel unit with the LED skull on it. And I've already spent last night configuring this. I already went through everything I described, and I'm just going to show you how we do it. Now over here, you'll see this is booting. And when it boots up, it's going to give us an IP address. And we can type that IP address in on our local network without any configuration and instantly get into it. So the first thing it wants to know, well, first of all, it says hello. Isn't that nice? And it says it in a bunch of different languages. So I guess I select the language I want, push the button in. Do I want to enable SSH? I'm going to say no. It's also a touch screen. You don't have to use the dial. You can just touch the screen. MDNS, do I want to enable it? Yes, I do. That means I can type in a name for this unit instead of a number. Do I want to enable Wi-Fi? Right now, I'm going to say no. Then the little dial spins. It's going to obtain an IP address. And that's a one-time setup. You won't have to do this every time. There's our IP address, very clearly in bold, 192.168.68.71. If an IP address starts with 192 or starts with the number 10, you can't route that over the internet. I can give that out all day. It's not a security concern. It's a generic, local, non-routable IP address. So that's not how we would connect to it if we were on a different network. Okay, we'd have to use a whole nother IP address that we would obtain through, in this example, we would use tailscale, and it would give us, tailscale would assign an IP address to us that is routable, but also secured with passwords and encrypted. So again, just showing you how I use this. So that's set up 192.168.68.71. Let's go visit that and see what happens. I'm going to open a new browser page, and I'm going to share the screen with you right here. And we're going to type in that IP address, 192.168.68.71. This is my very first time doing this. It says, hey, your connection's not private. That's fine. They all do this, by the way. Every manufacturer of these does this. And just say proceed anyway. And once we tell it one time, we shouldn't have to tell it anymore, except maybe after if we updated it, like starts over again, right? And it will do this again. But this is normal and nothing to worry about. We're on our own local area network. Now, when it comes to the name and password, by default, I think it's just admin and enter, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it's admin and admin. I'm trying to go off my memory here. And it should say, hey, you need to change your password, which is what it's doing. Change your password. For the security of your device, please change the password. Okay, so that gets us in and takes us immediately to the change password. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give this a login name of Nano KVM. And I'm going to set my password to be Nano, like Mork and Mindy. Nano. He said Nanu, but whatever. Please note this action will change. Yes. To reset the password, please refer. Really good documentation here. They've come a long way. So now, with our new admin name and password, we'll type in Nano KVM and Nano. Now it's going to bring up the desktop of this little mini PC, which asks us if we want to do backup. I do not. Notice there's two mice. There's the one I'm moving, the big one in the lead, and the one right behind me. That's how quick the lag is. It's very minimal. And that's the one on the mini PC. So I can tell where I'm going versus where the mini PC is. We'll hit opt out of backup. And backup is recommended, skip for now, and now we're on the desktop. If we come up here, we have all these options. And you'll notice the blue dot right up here. That means there's an update waiting. Click on settings. Now by default, I was curious what version they sent us. And they sent us image 1013 with application 129. I also want to change the host name. And I'm going to change that to be Nano KVM. And that way, if I want to access this in the future, instead of typing that number up here, I can just type Nano KVM up here, and it'll automatically translate to the number. So much easier. We go over here, it says check for updates. And it says it's going from 129 to 12.12. Hit confirm. Again, some of these Nano KVM or residential, like consumer-based KVM units are not this good with their communication, and their interface isn't as polished. Also, what the Nano KVM-Pro does that no other KVM does that I'm aware of is it gives you two different operating systems. What we're looking at right now is my preference. That's sipeed's operating system. But if you prefer to use the original KVM operating system, that is also built in, and that also gets updates with this as well. So you're not only just getting updates for this OS, but it's a dual boot system. When it reboots, you have to log back into it again, but nothing changes. Your Wi-Fi settings won't get lost, your login won't be lost. Nano KVM, Nano. Now, while we're in here, if we wanted to switch to KVM, it's up here in one of these settings. There's full screen mode right there. If you want to go full screen, it's just like you're sitting in front of the computer, but we're only in a browser tab. See what I'm saying? No software. Then it looks like we're in 4K, which is driving me crazy. Let me see if I can reduce that back down to 1080. Yeah, it definitely went to 4K. Let's go to 1920 by 1080. There we go. I don't know why people like 4K. I guess people are younger than me. Their eyes are better. All right, so we come back up here to these. This is the KVM device. These are all the options for remote. We want to set up a keyboard up here, etc. We want to do that. If you want, if you're having issues with the mouse, the style, the speed, all of this you can control. Virtual media, mounting images like Windows installer, etc. like that. It goes on and on and on. And I think on the settings, if we go to device, you can turn the virtual disk on or off, the virtual network on or off. You can turn Wi-Fi on and configure it for your Wi-Fi, which I would prefer to do in here so I can use my keyboard. Because this has a clock on the front, we want to set our time. And for me, it's GMT -7 in Phoenix. Which way am I going? -7, Arizona. That's me. And sync it. And that should have the correct date and time. Yep, perfect. Which will also display on the front of the unit. Which I will never see, since this unit will be wherever the remote computer is. And if I was where the remote computer was, why would I need this? But nonetheless, it's got the time on it. There's some advanced settings that have been added as well. And furthermore, there still may be more updates. It says 1.2.12 is the latest. But if you want the latest, like betas, what is likely going to be the next version, you've got to turn that on. And now you can see there's another version. So once again, it'll go through the exact same process. And me personally, I always like having the latest version when it comes to a KVM. However, that also means because it's still not quite officially released, it still may have some issues with it. And if that's really critical to you that you don't have any issues, only stay with the official releases and make sure to leave that off. So once again, it'll apply the updates automatically and reboot itself and require us to log in again. And you can see it doesn't take very long for this entire process to completely rewrite the firmware of the operating system and restart. It's pretty darn quick. So as it reboots, we'll give it a minute here. If you're curious, like I can look at the screen right now. Yeah, it's still booting, so just wait for this to boot. And then once it's done booting, it should prompt us for logging in again. Nano KVM, Nano. Okay, so what if we wanted the other operating system? What if you said, okay, you mentioned it had a dual boot. How do you do that? I think it's over here. I'm trying to remember. Under device. Is it under this logo? No, it's not that one. I never use the other one myself. I like the sipeed operating system. But if you're a technical person, you've been using KVM and you're familiar with that, you might be more comfortable with it. And it's nice to be able to switch to it. And then more options here. Screen information if it's not displaying correctly, resolutions, things of that nature, refresh rates. It should work pretty much without you having to do anything. Tailscale, which would be the remote way to set this up through GitHub, is tailscale. Some of them will use zero tier. There's a few other free services. They've integrated tailscale. You hit the install button. It's a community open source project, completely secure. Check for updates. Clearly, we're going to be fully updated now, and then any sort of account information. Now, Nano KVM admin batch management. If you have a bunch of these you want to maintain at the same time, change your account name or password. That's all done in here. And then right up here, right in front of my face the whole time, is where it says switch to KVM. If I press that, it's gonna, and no other KVM does this. This is the only one on the market. Whether or not you see that as an advantage or not, that's up to you. I personally don't use KVM, but what it's going to do is going to shut the unit down, just like if you had Windows and Linux. It'll shut down Windows and then boot into Linux. However long it takes for that shutdown process and the reboot process is what it takes. And given how small these little computers are, and let's face it, these are just little tiny computers. You think Raspberry Pi, you know, this is in that same family or range. And in just a moment here, it's going to log in with an entirely different interface. Now, for me personally, the KVM software is not as user-friendly. It's more technical, and it's for people who like things complicated. Some people really like their life complicated. A lot of very technical people I know often overcomplicate, in my opinion, very simple solutions. But if that's your preferences, who am I to say you're wrong? And how is it terrible to have options, right? So the KVM comes up and says enter your username and password, which I still think is admin and admin by default. It doesn't share the same login because it's just like if you had a Linux login and a Windows login, they don't share the login. And then we go to the KVM software, and now we'll get the desktop here. And you'll see we have different options and things up here. But this software does get updated at the same time with the other software when you check for updates. So for me personally, I'm not a fan of this. If I was more technical and I like life to be more complicated than it needs to be, and I want granular control of everything because I'm a control freak, hey, listen, KVM, there it is. To each their own. If I click on that, let's see, let's see, system. I'm trying to figure out how to get back. How do I go from KVM back over to the sipeed Nano KVM software? It's up here somewhere. That's how infrequently I do this. They're not moving it. I just can't remember. Yeah, switch to Nano, switch now. Once again, it'll shut down, restart the unit, and bring us back into the Nano KVM software. It's hard to believe it does all this and still costs less than the Comet Pro at 1/3 the size. So, you know, again, I'm not bashing on the Comet Pro. It's not a bad device, but it's way overpriced to deliver less, in my opinion. Thanks to sipeed. If sipeed said, hey, we're not making this anymore, then the GLINet Comet Pro would look a lot more appealing in my eyes. Now, we are live unscripted, and everything you're seeing is happening in real time. There's no edits in this, so the amount of time it's taking for us to restart, that's how long it's taking. So once we log in, you'll see that I have full remote access to this computer as though I were sitting in front of it, including making any changes in the BIOS, because we're not connecting through software. We're connecting through another computer. And that computer is going to take whatever the video output is, a television show, a video game, whatever the HDMI output is what it's displaying in the browser. Versus if you're in Windows with running remote access software, it has to be in Windows to work. Therefore, you can only use it within Windows. And that's mostly what people need remote software for. But there are use case scenarios where this thing is a lifesaver. And on top of that, no subscriptions ever. You buy it once, you own it for life. And if it's slow, it's probably your internet connection on one side or the other that's your culprit. And all you got to do is speed up your internet connection if it's not the device that's slow. I have really good internet here and at Studio A, so it's almost no different than sitting in front of the computer from a completely different building when I connect remotely. And here on my local area network, as you can see, that's not an issue because we're at the speed of the local network. So we'll wait for this to reboot. You'll see the yellow flashing Ethernet port showing that it's disconnected. And in fact, the unit, I've just looked at it and it does show it's rebooted. So I think I just have to manually hit refresh. For whatever reason, it hasn't refreshed yet and I'm too impatient to wait. So we'll go Nano KVM, Nano. So what happens if you want to get in the BIOS? How would you do that? Well, I would just do start. Notice I've got, well, you can't see, but I've got two start buttons. I've got another taskbar below this one. That's wider and larger. That's my local streaming computer. The one you see here, everything you see in here is the remote computer. Everything. And you barely even notice the mouse trailing. It's that fast. Okay, so let's do shutdown and restart. Now, normally, this will be the last thing you see with software until Windows comes back up. You're sort of flying blind. What I can do is come up here, bring up the virtual keyboard, and in just a minute, we should get the power on self-test screen, and we can start hitting the delete key. Now, I can press the delete key on my local keyboard too. But this is just my preference. It makes me feel better to do it this way. And in just a minute here, this older machine takes a minute to reboot. We should get the power on self-test. There it is. That's what I'm looking for. I'll hit delete. It might be even BF2. I can't ever remember how to get into BIOS on this. And if I've delayed, if I've waited too long, it'll take me into Windows, which it did. So I can try that again, or since that didn't work for me on the first go and I'm impatient and I don't want to be stubborn and make it work, it was my timing that's off. So what I'll do instead is just tell Windows to reboot into the BIOS, and then I don't have to press any keys at all. But that's an example of where I can use the virtual keyboard. So here, this is going to come up in a moment. And remember, this computer's 10 years old, almost 10 years old. 8 years old, and it's not as fast as modern day computers, but it's still Windows 11 compatible 8th gen. And all these delays have nothing to do with the KVM. We're waiting on the computer to start up here. So as I mentioned, once this thing finishes whatever it's doing, there it goes. I will go to Settings. I'll go to Windows Update, and then I'm going to go to Windows, let's see, Advanced Options, Recovery, and we want to do the Advanced Startup option right there. That's where it's hidden. Now when the computer restarts, it's going to give us options on how we want to restart. Do we want to restart in safe mode? We can do that remotely. Some remote software can't do that. That's more like, some does if it's like repair software like Instant House Call. Now you notice down here it says please wait. And we're going to get an advanced startup menu asking, what do you want to do? Do you want to boot from a device? we could virtualize having a device like Windows 11 on the KVM and tell it to boot to it. We're going to do troubleshoot, advanced, and UEFI firmware settings and restart. So now when it restarts, it's going to restart right into the BIOS. Then I don't have to worry about pressing the right key at the right time. Super easy. All Windows 10 and 11 computers offer this, by the way. Has nothing to do with the KVM. And I went through that pretty quickly, but feel free to rewind and watch it back if I went through those steps too fast for you, because we have so much more to get to today. If I slow down, we won't get through as much as I want to. There's so many bells, whistles, and features on this, I could talk about it for 8 hours. I primarily just use the most basic features for myself, which includes what I just showed you. And once I configure this on my Wi-Fi, I won't need the Ethernet cable plugged in anymore. I just plug in the HDMI and the USB, turn the computer on, and I go upstairs, I do my work. It is awesome. I cannot, if you think I'm being paid to make a commercial, I apologize that my enthusiasm is so genuine and authentic, I sound like Ron Popeil. But the problem is, I'm being honest. And if the honesty is negative, people have no problem believing it. If the honesty is positive, people think, well, how much did you get paid to say that? So in theory, we should be into the BIOS. Let me refresh the page because I didn't think it would take this long. If you're ever like wondering if it's still connected or there's an issue, some computers may lose USB power when you do this. And if that's the case, the Nano KVM will be rebooting. So I have the advantage of looking right at the Nano KVM, and it says it's up and running. And it's just now, let's see. Yeah, it shows HDMI and USB are connected. So I'm not getting any video output for some reason. And you know, this can happen, especially if you're connecting to older machines. Now, this is kind of that video issue I was talking about. When you go up here and you're having trouble with your video mode, you can try different types of encoding to see if that makes any difference. Or more importantly, the EDID, which I want to be at 1920 by 1080. And it should be auto-adjusting, so you don't have to go in here and manually do it. But the older computers may not send the signal clear enough. Let me go back to video mode. I'm going to change it back to 264. Still not getting any video. It's, again, for me anyway. Let's see, can we lower? Won't go any lower. Variable bit rate or a constant bit rate. I mean, you can get into the weeds on this if you want to, along with scale. I just trust it to just work automatically. And under screen, yeah, I would prefer to keep that at 1920 by 1080. And then it should just take effect. I don't think you have to save it, but let's see if we close that out and refresh. Does it do anything? No. Now I'm a little stuck because now I'm wondering, is it the computer that is coming up with a blank screen, or is the computer displaying the BIOS in a resolution that that the Nano KVM doesn't understand? And that's one of the things the updates, as they continually come out with new updates, fixes issues like this as they get reported. So I'm probably the only one on the planet with a Nano KVM-Pro plugging it into an old, 8th gen Intel NUC. But that being said, one way I can know for sure is we can come back over to camera 1, and I can just see if we are at the BIOS on this by unplugging this and instead just plugging this into the capture card, which isn't as finicky. Now, I will tell you, I didn't expect that to happen because I've never seen that happen before. But on the other hand, I've never been into the BIOS on a unit this old before. Most of the time, even if the unit's old, it works fine. I also don't know if by putting that beta firmware on here that maybe the older version of firmware would have worked better. I don't have a before and after comparison, but these kind of things still do happen, especially if the computer you're connecting to is older or you're running beta firmware. Either one of those could be the cause of this. But let's see if we get video output over to the streamer directly. No, there is no video output. Isn't that interesting? This was supposed to reboot us into the BIOS. So it doesn't appear to be a Nano KVM issue at all. There's no video output here. So what would you do about this if you were remote? Well, if we have Wake on LAN, we could try to turn the machine off, although you generally have to be in Windows for that. If you're connected to a mini PC or a laptop, there's not much you're going to be able to do other than ask somebody by the computer to turn it off for you and turn it back on. But if you know those other components in the box, those are the wires for the power and reset switch. If you're in a tower that has those on the motherboard, as a tower will, you could just patch that in so that both the buttons on the tower and the remote buttons to hit the reset and power means you'd never have to ask anybody for help. Okay? But on a mini PC, we can't hook that up. And so there are still occasions, in particular, what we just witnessed live, which I can't even script that to happen. But that has never happened to me in reality, where I've needed somebody to go switch it off and switch it back on. It only happened because we're on live video and it's Murphy's Law. Let me jump back over and see what this is doing, if this is going to go into the BIOS now. It still didn't go in the BIOS. So I'm going to try one more time by simply, let's see. So we're back in Windows. Let me unplug the capture card from the streamer, and let's plug the video back in and log back into the Nano KVM. Let's try this one more time. So we'll jump over to our browser. Look at that, it's already waiting on a login. Nano KVM, Nano, and start. I want to try that going through Windows because it's a pretty easy way to do it rather than pressing the button at the right time. Advanced recovery. Restart now. Yes. All right. See if we have better luck. When it restarts, it should ask how we want to restart, and I'm going to tell it I want it to restart into the BIOS, and it'll restart one more time. We'll see if we get another black screen. That's pretty interesting. But that's the mini PC outputting a black screen. And I was assuming it was a compatibility with the Nano KVM. My bad. So once again, we're going to get the startup menu, troubleshoot, advanced, UEFI settings, go. Is it going to work this time? Because that means if I were sitting in front of this, doing this very same thing without the Nano KVM, it would still do this exact same behavior. So the Nano KVM has nothing to do with this. There's something else going on with this little NUC. And it may be, I don't know, I mean, compatibility issue with Windows 11? Maybe there's a new BIOS available. Good luck finding it on the NUC. ASUS has some BIOSes for these now, but Intel licensed all the NUC technology to ASUS. So any updates, you need to go to ASUS, and good luck finding it. I know it's out there somewhere, but it's possible that there's some kind of a BIOS update. And as you can see, we're back to a black screen. We should have gotten something by now. So something ain't right with the mini PC. Now, just to prove this to you, just to prove to you that I'm not coming up with excuses, we can grab literally any other mini PC I've got around here. I don't know, what should I grab? And it could be a laptop, it could be a motherboard that I've got, you know, not yet, you know, it's built, but it's not yet put in a computer. Any computer. What can I grab quickly? I guess we'll just use our favorite over here, this Minisforum workstation beast. All right, and all I'm gonna do is we're gonna shut this down because I don't know what's going on with this. It just seems to be locked up. We're going to go over to plug power in, plug the internet in, And we're going to plug the keyboard and mouse in. Right here, that's the keyboard. I'm sorry, this is the keyboard and mouse and the video. So any USB port, doesn't matter which one. And then our HDMI output. Get myself all tangled up. Turn the power switch on. Hit the power button here. That's interesting about that BIOS. Whoops, I don't know how long I was on that button. So we've got everything powered up over here. This now just has the power connector, which I've unplugged. And now we're going to boot to this unit. We'll go to this desktop with the Nano KVM. And let's jump back over to the browser. And there it goes. It boots up. Nano KVM. Nano. Yeah, there's your boot screen. And then it brings us into Windows. And again, I want to try the same thing. Let's go Start, Settings, Windows Update, Advanced, Recovery, Restart. Yes. Now when it restarts, it'll take us into the Safe Boot menu, or the Options menu. The Advanced Startup menu is what they call it. It's all the same options, all the same order, all the same process. Doesn't matter if you've got a laptop, a mini PC, a desktop, 10 years old, brand new, doesn't matter. It's always the same. Troubleshoot, Advanced, UEFI, Restart. Now when it restarts, it should take us into the BIOS. Give it just a minute. There we are. Remember, I'm using the keyboard and mouse on the streaming computer in a browser window. I got to keep reminding you, we are in a browser window. And if I want to go full screen, just drop this down, hit that square box. We are full screen as if we were sitting right in front of the computer directly. And you notice that auto hides this, which is really nice. And if you want to get out of this mode, just go up to the middle of the screen. An X appears, hit that, it brings you back into a browser window. We can save and exit. Save changes and exit. Just as though we were sitting in front of it. And this could be anywhere in the world. With an internet connection, we can do this securely with no subscription fees ever. There it is. Okay, so that's just scratching the surface of what this does. Okay, those are the bare minimums of how I use the system in my daily routines in life and how it makes my life so much easier. But make no mistake, this does so much more than what I've demonstrated, and I don't want to overwhelm you with too much information. And here's the other beautiful thing. Because this has its own memory in it, you know how I'm always grabbing my USB utilities flash drive to load, Uncle Carey's Windows 11 Optimizer, VLC, Cinebench, and all those, freeware or shareware, I guess it's freeware, benchmarking utilities that I use? How am I supposed to do that to a remote computer? This is also a built-in flash drive. So if we go back to this machine, and I go to the C drive, I haven't configured this yet. But notice there's no D drive here, right? If I plug in a flash drive, it would be D drive. So I'd have to configure that one time. I have to go in here and say, I want to turn on, let's see, I think it's under Settings, maybe Device, Virtual Disk, turn that on. It says if you turn this on, any data you've got in it gets wiped out. Well, I don't have any data in it, it's brand new. It's not erasing the operating system or anything. If I want to continue, I do. So what that's doing is it's formatting it and getting it ready for use. Now I can turn this off, go back in here, and I should have a D drive. And that D drive, oh, it looks like they've expanded the storage. We have 48 gigs free instead of 21. It used to be, sorry, it used to be about 28 gigs free. It looks like instead of a 32 gig MMC, we've got a 64 gig MMC in the new version. Plus, we have the TransFlash card, which I do not have plugged in on this brand new unit. We've got the TransFlash card plugged in on the old unit. And what I do is now this is just USB 2. It's slow. But what I'll do is I'll take all the files on my USB flash drive. That's a 16 gig flash drive. Now, I don't know if you can do the math, but if that flash drive were completely full and I copied everything off of it, 47 gigs is 1/3 of that space. So I still have lots of room to work with if I want to put Windows 11 and Memtest 86 ISO images that I can mount virtually and boot from. I have room for all of that and more. And there you go. There's the D drive now. That's part of the Nano KVM. How cool is that? Right? All right. Let me get back over to the chat room and see what questions or comments I've missed. Thomas Mac T joins us. Edward Bass joins us, says hello. Welcome in, guys. Bill Sony saying hello in the chat. Mark Leibowitz says hello from Chicago, where it's 28 degrees Fahrenheit. Oof. Says it's the warmest it's been in over a week. Jeez. Yeah, well, that's what makes you Midwesterners so hardy. Tony Aindow says hello. Okay, so I can catch my breath now. I think I got out all the basics. And I wasn't aware that the MMC on that was twice the size. With memory shortages being what they are and continuing throughout the rest of this year as predicted, the last thing I expect is to get more of what is essentially a much rarer commodity today than it was last year. I'll take it, no problem. And I will always take more capacity over speed any day. For the same amount of money, this doesn't even have that much. So, and this costs more. What I'm trying to get at is, for me personally, my preference is, if I could have a 2 terabyte Gen 4 drive for $200, or a 1 terabyte Gen 5 drive for the exact same price, but it's twice as fast but half the capacity, I'll take the slower one with twice the capacity if the price is the same. I will use the capacity. I may not benefit from the speed. So it's your choice. I'm just expressing to you, it's a very easy decision for me. To heck with the speed. Give me the capacity. I'll wait. Because if you think about it, if you've got a slower capacity that runs faster, you're just going to fill it up faster. You're going to run out faster. And you're paying the same price to get half the capacity just so you can fill it up faster? How does that make any sense? But you may have special needs for needing that speed. But if you just want the speed, I would just want the capacity. That's all I'm trying to say. Give me twice the capacity at half the speed for the same price. I'll take that deal every day. Bill Sony says, can I use it for personal use or just for business? It's yours. You use it. You can use it to hold a door open. You can use it as a trinket in your curio cabinet. Nobody controls how you use what you buy. It's whatever you want to do with it. Your choice. It's yours. When you buy it, it belongs to you. Are there other questions I can answer? Anything that needs to be clarified, I'm happy to do so. if I were to move these same cables over to this unit will not power on. I will need an additional cable to power this on. This unit, it's optional. In fact, every the Nano KVM, the Jet KVM, the Pico KVM, every single competitor to this, the power cable is optional. Some people do need it. I don't. But the people at GLInet on the previous model and the new model, they said, we don't care if you don't need it. You're going to use it whether you like it or not. So that's one of the things that really despises me. Because remember, I'm constantly unplugging and plugging this in. There's a different PC, sometimes 3 PCs in a day that I need to work on. And I want to go work on them from upstairs. And again, that's my unique use case scenario. This does not fit that as well. That's one more cable I got to get tangled up and hook up, and it drives me crazy. That's why I wanted this Wi-Fi, because what's configured on Wi-Fi, I don't even need that cable. Now I only need the 2 cables, and the internet comes through the Wi-Fi. See, if I take this and just switch over to the older unit that I've already configured for Wi-Fi, just the HDMI, just the USB, nothing else. Once I plug that USB in, it powers up. And that also provides keyboard and mouse remotely. The only reason this isn't doing it is I haven't configured the Wi-Fi yet. But since I've already configured the Wi-Fi here, and since the internals of these are the same, when this boots up, we just go back over to the browser. Let me jump back over to the browser. And it's going to have a different IP address. And it does take my router a minute to acknowledge another device with the same name. Looks like we're going to be okay. And then just log into it. See how I've logged in? See that? Same exact, only I've done it without an Ethernet cable now. So check it out. We'll come back over here to camera 1 just to show you there's nothing up my sleeve. 2 wires. 2 wires. Same as Jet KVM, same as Pico KVM, same as the original Nano KVM non-Pro. The only one who requires that extra cable, regardless if you need it or not, they will not work without it if it's made by GLInet. Doesn't matter which version. They have stuck true to that, and I have chewed them out left and right, and they just want to justify it rather than say, thank you for your feedback, we'll take that under consideration. No, that is not how they respond. They say the reason we do that is because some people need it. And I'm not saying some people don't need it. But you're forcing us to all need it, even when we don't. That's the point I'm trying to make. And just look at your competitors. I'm not making something up. You're the only ones who do this. And they're nearly twice the price. So get really upset, even though they're a good company. I do like them. I'm so disappointed in that because this exists. If this didn't exist, I would think this was great. All right, back over to the chat. Bill Sony says, would it be good for my mini PC that I got from you? I have no idea what you're asking me. I'm sorry, Bill. I cannot answer questions of what's good or bad or how you would use it or what solution it provides for you. I have no idea what you're asking me. If there is a situation when you are traveling and you want to be able to access your mini PC, or you're in your house with more than one computer and you don't want to have to get up to use the other computer, you want to access one computer from another, then this would benefit you. If you don't have either of those scenarios, this device has nothing to do with you. It doesn't resolve any issues for you. This product is very unique in that it solves a solution or provides a solution for those of us in one of those 2 scenarios. That's it. If you're not in those scenarios, this isn't for you. That's all. That's it. And the same would be true if I was showing you a printer. If I showed you a printer and you don't need a printer or you never print, there'd be no benefit. You say, well, Carey, should I buy this printer? I don't know if you should buy the printer. Do you need a printer? Same thing. I have no answers for you, Bill. If you're asking those questions, I have to assume you don't really understand what this is. You don't understand the concept of why you would use it. And therefore, you've answered your own question because you had the question It's just not a product for you. And that's okay. But if you have to ask if it's a product for you, it's not the product for you. I do invite your questions, but there's some questions that I'm referring to, like technical questions, like can you do this or can you do that? Or, you know, what is the problem you're trying to solve? If you're saying, will this solve my problems? I got to know what your problems are first before I can say yes or no. All right, just to be clear on that. All right. Some people see stuff and they go, hey, it's really neat. And they want to buy it because it's neat. And it's like, all right, I mean, that's kind of a dumb reason to buy things in my world, but it's your money. I see people getting all hyped up about the another GLINet product. They have a portable router that's battery operated with a built-in SIM card. And they've been spending a lot of money on marketing and hype on this thing. And so I've had numerous people, both in the chat room and in real life, say, hey, did you see that new GLINet portable router? And I said, I've had one for years. I don't know, what's the big deal? This is battery operated. This can work as a router. I don't understand. Why are we all excited over duplicating what's already in our pockets? Well, you can use it as a battery charger for your phone. Yeah, but they've had those around and they don't cost as much money. And you could also use your phone as a battery charger for another phone. This isn't to insult the people at GLINet. I'm just having a hard time wrapping my head around nonsense. Now, I'm sure there's somebody who says, I really need a portable battery-operated router with VPN because I'm going out in the middle of the sticks. Maybe I'm a land surveyor and there's no Wi-Fi. I can't get a signal. Well, if you can get a signal on your phone, you're going to get a signal on the wireless router. I still don't, I'm really having a hard time where you would need this. It doesn't make any sense. So when you watch videos on reviewers reviewing it, I want you to think about your phone can already do all of that, and it's been around for years. This product isn't even out yet. It's going to sell for over $300. And I'm asking, is it cool? It's very cool. But what is it doing I can't already do? It's creating hype and it's making you excited to spend money needlessly because it's cool. And it'll sit on your shelf, you'll use it twice, and you'll forget all about it. You get it out of your system, it's like a drug. I strongly encourage you to fight that. Now, if you're in a unique scenario, unlike most of us, you're in a very niche scenario. Kind of like this is kind of a niche scenario. That's even more niche. That even narrows it down further. Who would benefit from having that? Not enough people to justify the hype. People at CES were looking at it going, look how cool this is. It's cool, but what do you do with it? Give me an example of how that solves a problem for you. And by the way, how have you been solving that problem in the meantime? This product's not even out yet. Are you telling me you just weren't able to access things over the internet? You just went without, and now this, how have you been living without this if it's so amazing? Maybe there's something I don't get. Maybe it's me. This seems like a complete and total waste of time and money for the vast majority of people, and that only a specialist in a very specific category would need a tool like that. I mean, if any of you have any answers for me, I'd love somebody to explain it. In the meantime, during the next 6 weeks, expect to see more videos and hype about how cool it is. You could use it for this, and you could use it for that. And every example they give, I can already do with my phone, and I've been doing it with my phone for years. I don't get it. So I can just spend more money, have another cell phone plan that I got to pay for, carry another device I have to keep charged up. Seriously? You people are lining up, not you people, but people online are lining up to say, take my money for this needless device because it's cool? Go ahead of me. You can have my place in line. Again, if anybody has a real world example that's relatable, you'd say, oh, okay, I get it now. It makes sense. Right now, I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. And I know there's more video reviews and how excited people are about it. And I'm like, really? Really? Are you thinking clearly? Can you see through the hype? And somebody goes, well, I have a very specific job that only 10 other people in the world do. And if you're in one of those 10 people, this is a lifesaver. Hey, no argument from me. You could be right. You probably are right. But what does it have to do with the rest of us? Why are we getting excited? Andy says, I bet the updates will continue on these. Oh yeah, I'm surprised at this point. They haven't slowed down. About every 6 days, another update, another update, another update. Bring it on. You never have too many updates. I mean, they're adding features, they're refining things, they're making the interface better. So my main concern when we first received this from Kickstarter was it didn't do its basic function, which was to work as a KVM. They're like, oh, you can play games on it. I don't want to play games on this. Oh, it's got LEDs and you can light up the screen behind the monitor that you're remotely from, you can never see. What do I want that for? I don't mind that they offer it. That doesn't bother me. What bothers me is when they shipped it, it did not work as its basic function as a KVM. Now with the updates, it does work. And if they want to continue polishing updates for features I don't use, it doesn't bother me none. If they want to add 1,000 more games on here that I'm never going to play through an update, I'll grab the update, but I'm not playing the games. This isn't a toy for me. You have any idea how much money I make because of this? This is an investment. This is a tool. You could go buy a set of wrenches and play with them all day. Aren't these fun? I can put them together and make an erector set. But a mechanic will be making a living using those same tools. So nobody's stopping you from buying tools and playing with them as toys. You are welcome to do that. But that's not my job here. My job here is to explain these tools and how they're used and how you make money from them so that you can be independent, self-sufficient, self-reliant, and be able to earn a living by making smart investments in tools that pay you back. But if you want to buy toys, I don't really show toys here. It's not what I do. I don't have a problem with it. Other people already do that. Have fun with your toys. But if you come here looking for toys, that's not what I show. But every tool I show, you might think that's a cool toy. If you got $3 grand to drop on a toy, have at it. But if you can make 30 grand from using this $3 grand tool, that's a solid investment in your future, in your financial future and stability. That's what I'm here to focus on. But if what you want to do is play Super Mario Kart on it, I mean, you can, but you won't hear me encouraging that or demonstrating that because that's an expensive luxury of time and money I don't have. So I'm just showing you, here's how I make money. Here's how I'm more efficient. Here's how I can reduce my need to be on site. Here's how I can get remote access without monthly fees. And here's how I can provide support to customers much faster, help more customers in the same amount of time, because I can take out the travel time and get the kind of support that often prior to this required me to drive over there. So for example, when TPM was disabled in a BIOS, and I got a customer in California with 10 computers that all need to have TPM turned on in order to do the Windows 11 upgrade, I mailed them a Nano KVM and told them to plug it in. And then I just accessed them remotely, I updated the BIOSes remotely, I put the TPM on to enabled, Secure Boot to enabled, did the Windows 11 upgrade, and I did not have to drive to California. And we did like 3 computers a day over the course of about, I don't know, it wasn't every day, so about 2 weeks we eventually got through. It was more than 10, I think it was 19 computers, and we just used 1 KVM and just did one at a time. Then I told them, look, these are so cheap. I mean, the amount of money it would cost me in gas one way, never mind hotels, more than pays for this. Just put it in a drawer if we ever need it in the future. In the meantime, the remote access I do for this client in California is instant house call. Once they're in Windows, I don't use this anymore. I just use remote software. I use instant house call to be specific. 99% of the time, but on occasion, the fact that they've got that and it's cheap and they're capable of plugging it in for me, that's all I need. It's a 6-hour drive one way and a 6-hour drive back the other way. Gas, time, hotels, food, and I can't really help anybody else when I'm away. I can't make videos. The studio's here, not in California. This is making me a ton of money, and my clients don't have to wait. We can do it right now. Food for thought. Here's Mitch Morrison joining us. Hey, Mitch. He says, what kind of a dog likes to code? A core geek. Do you know when a joke becomes a dad joke? When it becomes apparent? Apparent. See, it's never mind. These are terrible. Andy mentioned there was an update early on that broke the Wi-Fi. Yeah, yeah. So that's all part of, being an early adopter, being first. That's what you can expect. And if you don't have the patience or tolerance for that, give a product a year. So this came out, when did we get these, Andy? These came out in, is it October? November? Wait till September, this coming September, and probably the updates on this will be far less frequent. It'll be really well polished and out of the box. I mean, I kind of feel like it's there right now. It's only going to get better, but at least now, if I were to buy this and have a first experience with it in its new format and the bigger eMMC, I would have nothing to complain about, me personally. But trust me, it's still going to continue to be polished, and it's only going to get better. So if you wait a year from any brand new released product, brand new, never before, and you want a product that's tried and true and tested, you need to give it a year for the public to have it. How about all those Ford F-150 Lightning owners? How about all those early adopters now Ford won't make the car anymore? Just abandoning. Remember all the hype around the electric Hummer? What happened to that? Where'd it go? So all those early adopters made that big investment, waited in line, they had to be first. Anything that's brand new, that's what you should expect. If you wait a year, it should be pretty well polished or canceled if they can't fix it. Hence the Ford Lightning. Took a bit longer than a year, but it's only out for a couple of years, and they just can't sustain it. And you can still buy them brand new at the dealer if you still want to buy a canceled car. It just was an experiment that didn't work out for them. Oh, in much the same way, anything new, anything, you want to give it a year. Or just don't be first. Because, even after a few months, this is massively improved, massively. In what, 4 months? That's a far cry from a year. But they're not done yet. As Andy mentioned, they're probably still going to be coming out with regular updates, polishing features that I personally likely don't use, and perhaps even polishing the interface, which I appreciate. Like that little bar that auto hides, it didn't auto hide before. Now it does. It's a nice feature. Mitch Morrison said he's heading to Taiwan this year. He likes to take a trip once a year out of the country. And this year it's going to be Taiwan. Right on. All right. So again, if you have any use case scenarios, if this would help you with something, it's not a replacement for remote software. And the best example I can give you is me just logging in to Studio A. I do need to log in and grab files or transfer files that I have over there that I need over here, or vice versa. I have to get in the car and drive for a half an hour, then drive a half an hour back. Or I just connect remotely. I have a high-speed internet here. I've got high-speed internet over there. It's a secured VPN tunneled connection. Nobody's getting into it. It's got 3 different passwords to log in. So even if you could, even if you had 2 of the passwords, there's still a 3rd password. There's a desktop password. There's a KVM password. There's a GitHub password. They're all different. You need all 3 of those. And the GitHub password requires second-factor authentication. So good luck getting past the first one. All the power to you if you can do it. What I'm telling you is it's very secure. It's fast. There's no subscriptions. And in this scenario, which again is unique to my situation, is just an example for you to translate
and interpret that into any situation that you may have that this could solve for you. On the other hand, there may be no situation that this could solve for you. You're not wrong either way. I'm making you aware what your options are, because sometimes people make a sacrifice they didn't have to make, or they go without because they didn't know there was another option. That's the only reason I bring it up. What choices you pick depends on what choices you're aware of, right? So this is just to raise awareness of the latest and greatest version of the Nano KVM-Pro, and I can't believe how inexpensive it is, and I cannot believe how much money, you know, GLINet, they promoted this at being $99. And I think they said it would eventually sell for $129 at retail. They're $50 over that. They missed the mark. That's why I'm so upset with it. Technically, it's a fine unit. And it's a fine company. They're a stand-up company. But they really set up the hype on this to lead to disappointment. If this was $99, or even if it was $109, I wouldn't be, my feelings wouldn't be so strong about it. I'll take this any day. I've got 4 of these. I have 1 of these, and there won't be a second one. Not unless something drastically changes. But that's my values and my preferences. I want to keep emphasizing. You might like that one better. It's your money. Have at it. Edward Bass says, excuse me, I'm looking for Red Skelton. Is he in the room? Good old Red Skelton. I always used to confuse him with Red Buttons. I think Red Buttons and Red Skelton. They're both kind of clowny personas. Is it just me or did anybody else? Yeah, well, this is an aged conversation. Who the hell are they talking about? Well, if you go back to the 1950s, what about remote gaming on a desktop PC? It would depend on the game, I suppose. If the game requires very low latency, then the last thing you want to do is add latency. But if it's more of a strategic game, an MMO, RPG, or I don't know, right? Where latency isn't as critical, or, you know, timing, when it comes to like lining up a shot in a first-person shooter, you're just adding more latency to it. You could absolutely do it. There's Rick Lakes joining us here in the chat from Minnesota. Welcome in, Rick. Hope you're doing well. Oh, you know who I'm thinking of? Not Red Button. Red Skelton and Rip Torn. They all have weird, funny names, don't they? Rip Torn. That's the dumbest name I've ever heard. You'll have to Google. Some of you are too young to even know what I'm talking about. I'm too young to even know what I'm talking about. Those are even before my time. I was a baby when that stuff was on TV. Andy says, I hope they ship mine out before the Chinese New Year. Yeah, I think you'll be all right. I don't think the Chinese New Year starts for another week, and I got mine in a week. So I think unless they're out of inventory and they have to wait for the factory to replenish inventory, which I don't know, but I don't suspect they're selling like hotcakes, only because it's not a very well-known or much needed device overall compared to a computer, which obviously has a much bigger audience. So I would imagine you'll probably get it in about a week to 10 days from when you ordered it. And you should still be well before the, you know, even 10 days from now, I don't think the new year starts yet. When is it? February? When does it start? Trying to find that website that had the date on it. Oh, it starts February 11th until February 24th. So you've got 8 days from today. So, yeah, I think you'll be fine. You'll just let us know. And he said, they said there was 23 left when I ordered mine. And when did you order it? Today, yesterday, a week ago? Patrick Manny says, you know you're old when you know who Red Skelton is. Ouch! Ouch! How do we connect this to ATX power? The accessories are in the box, and there are, because I don't use ATX power. It's not a thing that I use. If we go to the inside the box, there was documentation. There's a QR code that takes you to the documentation. So if you want to know all the details on the operations of the unit, I would point you to their documentation. So if you want to find the documentation, let me share the screen. I'll show you how, just without knowing it off the top of my head, just search for it. Here's what I would do. I would type in sipeed Nano KVM-Pro manual. And the very first link is the KVM, not the KVM-Pro, but we're going to click on the regular KVM, and this is a list of all the products in their documentation. There's the KVM-Pro right there. Oh, it did bring up the Pro. And then underneath this section, there's the introduction, quick start. And again, this is, they have two different versions. This is the internal version, and then you have the desktop version, which is what we have here. And then when it talks about the wiring, that's the ATX board right there. This says it's not required. This is an optional, but I believe it's in the box. I don't use it. And you'll take the power switch and reset off your motherboard and plug it into this little circuit board. And this little circuit board plugs into your motherboard where your power switch and reset switch once were. And then you run a USB cable from here to the back of the unit. So if you want to keep that all internal so people don't see it, that's why they make the internal version of this of the Nano KVM versus the desktop version. I use the desktop version because I never use these components, me personally. But all the documentation for the Nano KVM-Pro is listed in all these different chapters all the way down. And then all these others, you know, where there's no indentation, these are different products. But where the indent is information for the product above, non-indented. Okay, so I hope that answers that question. And Mara mentions in our video notes, the link for the documentation is right there, so you don't have to search for it. But it's super easy to find, to search for it. Could be faster than going through our notes. Your choice. Christopher says, that's just what I'm looking for. Thank you. Right on. Well, thanks for asking your question. Is there other questions that I can address here today? I don't anticipate making any more videos on the Nano KVM or the Pro version, and I don't anticipate making any more videos on any of the KVMs, not the Jet, The Pico is still in rough shape. Software-wise, they got a lot of work to do. If and when they get to a point where I feel like it's worthy talking about, there's really nothing left to talk about on these. We also did a Kickstarter for a project called the ARC KVM. That's supposed to ship in March, and when we get it, we'll evaluate it and we'll unbox it as we normally do. The reason there were so many videos on this is because it was evolving, and we were walking it through, sharing the experience of what it's like to be an early adopter. Now, any of the updates that come out now are pretty minimal. All the big issues have been resolved. This, it's just the way it's designed. Unless it goes back, they go back to the board and redesign this from scratch. There's nothing more I have to say about it. And the same is true with every other KVM. The Jet KVM, you know, it still gets updates, but it's still a Jet KVM, right? So there's really nothing new. So if you're tired of hearing about the KVMs, the good news is, until the ARC KVM comes out, I don't think there's anything else to discuss. On the other hand, if you're like, oh darn, I really like the KVM content, well, we'll have some in March. When we get the ARC KVM, assuming that ships, which I imagine it will. And until then, you know, there's nothing else to discuss we haven't already covered. That's why this title is the final review on the Nano KVM-Pro, because any improvements from this point forward is just polish. It's a solid working KVM. It is my favorite KVM right now. We're in February of 2026, and there's no better value and no better KVM, in my opinion, than this unit right here. I did not say that back in October. Things have changed. Stort Welding wants to know, Carey, how big does the size of the mini PC have to be? Yeah, at what point does it stop becoming a mini PC? This is a beast of a workstation. You know, we have mini PCs that are like this big now. So it just depends how much power you want. Like, it's bigger because it's got more in it, you know. This unit compared to this unit, and so you can't even compare them. It's like comparing an F1 race car to your Honda Civic. Also in price, but this thing is incredible. I just had it close by, so I just grabbed it. There's no particular reason I grabbed that one. It was just within arm's reach. I've got mini PCs of all varying sizes. And I do understand, sometimes the mini PCs are getting to be, some of them are getting to be pretty large. But, you know, all you got to do is pick one up and move it to appreciate even a big mini PC is better than a small tower as far as like picking it up and finding space for it. And especially if you have to lift them and move them all the time like I do. It was a lot easier 20 years ago, and computers were a lot heavier 20 years ago. So that's all working out for me. I couldn't have gotten older at a better time. And he said, yeah, this is the new benchmark. Any new KVM has to be measured up against the Nano KVM-Pro 2 desk. I'm with you. And bring it on. I love competition. Show me a better KVM, and ideally at a better price, or even the same price, and I'm on board with it all day. This is it right now. If this didn't exist, this would be it. But because this exists, by comparison, I don't like this at all. If something else comes into existence that takes this place, it might just go over in that stack. Let's see what the future holds. I don't know. I'm not aware of anything coming out. This is it. To the best of my knowledge, this is it. This is as good as it gets. But they're always evolving, they're always innovating. They being manufacturers. Anybody with an entrepreneurial spirit and wants to jump in on the KVM craze could be secretly working on something we don't know about that could blow this out of the water. Also, I could be 10 feet tall and weigh 4,000 pounds. I'll see it when I believe it. Wait, I'll believe it when I see it. It doesn't work the other way around. But yeah, I'm in agreement with you. And I'm not opposed to putting this on a short list. I'm not against it. I have no emotional connection to this. It's just analytically looking at the facts and the price and everything you get for the money and how well it works and the frequency of the updates that the company isn't abandoning you. That Pico KVM went for 2 months without an update, and even now with the update, it still doesn't work right. 2 months. Every 6 days, a new update. Which would you rather have? Sony said, yeah, 25 years ago, monitors were really heavy too. Yeah, those 21-inch CRTs, ooh, I had to deliver those all the time to customers, and they are heavy. Couldn't have gone to LCDs at a better time. Carey, do I still use the ARM laptop? So the reason I needed the ARM laptop was that really long battery time to put instant house call and do remote updates from Windows 10 to 11. I had a bunch of customers that needed it. And I thought this would be great to be able to just sit in bed, watch TV, and have the laptop and just do the update and let it sit and then kind of glance over and restart when I need to. And that's exactly what I used it for. I've pretty much got everybody on Windows 11 now. And I said, well, who knows what I might need it for. I wanted an excuse to buy it, to experience all the hype that, you know, Snapdragon had. Snapdragon always brings out the trumpets and isn't this amazing? And then they won't let people review it for some reason. I wonder why. And then they're like, okay, we'll show you the unit. You can show it to your audience, but you can't turn it on until the release date. And then their product, their PR, their public relations company will give you all these benchmark results that are all curated under certain circumstances, so we can't verify them. And then the product comes out every single time with Snapdragon, without fail. Hype, 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 and then reality. Hype, 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 we're all excited, reality. Hype, 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 reality. Now, the latest Intel what is it, Panther Lake? The new 3rd generation, oh geez, this is gonna kill me, I gotta look it up. What am I thinking of? The Ultra Series 3, that's all I was trying to say. The Intel Core Ultra Series 3 should have a 22-hour battery life on a laptop, while also just spanking the heck out of the competitors. Intel's back. That's what they're all saying. They're back. They're back in the lead again. But it's a mobile processor. And the laptops aren't out yet. You can't buy one as far as I know. They just announced it at CES. And prices on everything is going to be pretty expensive because of the cost of RAM and storage. And my main concern for buying the ARM-based laptop was the battery life. I want to be able to just have it unplugged, have it on the bed with me, and just have it for hours. And then when I'm done for the whole day, then I'll plug it in and charge it up. And it absolutely did that. Some people mentioned compatibility issues. I didn't have any compatibility issues with any of the software I run. I'm not editing videos on it, never intended to. So it sits in a drawer. And about every couple months, I take it out, charge it up, do the updates, close it back up, stick it in the drawer. The reason I do that is if I need it, I want it to be mostly ready. I don't want to have to do 6 months of updates because it sat in a drawer ignored for 6 months. It's also not good for the battery. So yes, I still have it. Yes, it works perfectly. No, I've not really been using it other than taking it out every other month to update it. And I've got it as, think of it as a backup or an emergency laptop because I'm running a business. And if something happens to my main laptop, which could happen any day, I've got a backup plan. I can still help my customers. Imagine being in my shoes. Customer says, I need remote help right now. Our system's down, our business is down, our employees can't work, our customers can't work. And I go to my main machine, my laptop, and it won't turn on. What do I tell my customer? Can't help you? Let me get in the car, I'll be over there in an hour. No, we need help now. I'll just go to the other room, pull that ARM-based laptop out, turn it on, instant house call in, we're good to go. So for me personally, it's an investment. Now, yes, I have desktops I could use here if I'm here. So that I have backups to backups to backups. But if for some reason because I don't traditionally use a desktop, I use a laptop on my main administrative, all the work I do upstairs. There's 27 computers downstairs. There's only one computer upstairs for me. And then, of course, Mara's. And I suppose I could always borrow Mara's if I had to. But I like to be self-sufficient and self-reliant. I like to have my own solutions. I don't like to count on anybody. And so the ARM-based laptop gives me the experience with the ARM version of Windows, gives me experience with the Snapdragon processor. Qualcomm, that's who keeps raising the hype and then disappointing in the results. And Snapdragon's just the brand, the model. I was referring to Qualcomm. So anytime Qualcomm says they've got a new chip, there's always all this hype, and then the reality is always disappointing. So now the latest Ultra 3, the Core Ultra 3 from Intel, looks like it's competing with that battery life, but just smacking the heck out of the Snapdragon out of performance. But still, I wanted the experience, and I have no complaints. It works exactly, if anything, it works better than I thought it would. It is actually faster than I thought it would be. I was expecting it to be worse than the reviews. And like I said, I didn't have any, still never had any compatibility issues. Everything just works. I just don't need it right now, but who knows if I'm going to need it next month or next week. So it's there as a backup. Appreciate asking. Williams says the graphics aren't that great on the ARM laptop. Once again, it's almost like having this conversation of me telling you how much I like salt, and you responding, I can't eat salt. Okay, I can. So I don't care what the graphics performance are on the Snapdragon. It's not a graphics card. Qualcomm's never been known for making a gaming graphics card or a high-end graphics card. It may actually be better for like NPU processing. So neural processing, it could probably do AI a lot more efficiently. But I'm not doing that either. You might be. So bringing up these points, they don't matter to me, right? I'm here to share with you the way I use the equipment. How that relates to you and your values, I can't say. And it's not even a subject for discussion for me about the graphics. I don't. You could give me an NVIDIA 5090, or you can give me the graphics on a Qualcomm. I can't see the difference because I'm not playing games. I'm trying to get work done and I'm trying to make money. And if that's important to you, if you were looking at graphics, you should probably be looking at a discrete GPU, period, regardless. So, to each their own. Jim Kenny says, would 26H1 help? I mean, I'm not having any problems with it. So whatever 26H1 does for the ARM-based processors, it's not solving anything for me, or at least maybe it solves something I never knew I was missing. But if I don't know, I'm not waiting for any solutions. It works perfectly fine. When 26H1 comes out, I don't know if it's been released yet. I'll update it because I always grab updates regardless. But no, I'm not aware that it's going to help me whatsoever. But, ignorance is bliss because I've never used it. On the other hand, nothing's stopping me from using that laptop as far as any obstacles or lack of ability. It's doing everything I want it to do. It's doing it well. I have nothing to complain about, and I have no notes for improvement. So if Microsoft wants to improve it, and whatever it is they're doing that other people see as beneficial, until I experience it, I can't tell you, but I can't even imagine what it could be. I have no idea. It's hard to miss something I never had. But regardless, I always grab the updates if for no other reason than having the security. William said I had an issue where apps would crash, Windows Explorer, and the entire OS would freeze. I found out it was a Windows security update. It was the update that put the battery percentage on the taskbar. Yeah, I never had any problems, so I guess you use yours differently than me. I mean, I fix customer computers all the time that have problems I've never had. I mean, what customers do with their computers, part of it's the customer, and that's okay. I say let the customer do whatever they want, because if it results in a call for me to fix it, I'm happy to make the money. That's how I have a career. I'm not insulting anybody, not at all. Feel free, use it how you want. I can't speak for anybody's experience but my own. I've never had any crashing issues, never. Not after any updates. I get customers that go, after I got Windows Update, my system doesn't work. And I'm like, well, you're the only customer I have. So it's not the Windows Update. There's something you've put on your system, or there's something you've modified in most cases. That's why it's affecting you and nobody else. Or if you go on Reddit, you find the other 15 users that affect you. Go, it's not just me. Look on Reddit, yeah, there's 15 other people around the planet of 7 billion. But nonetheless, it's not about pointing blame. It's that we're all going to use our machines for different reasons and different purposes and require different software. Not all software is written equally. Some's better than other. And not all users know what they're doing equally. Some users are a little bit more cautious and knowledgeable than others. There's no crime in any of that. But it's very hard to discern from a user if the problem is them, their software, or something's wrong with the operating system. And that's all I'm trying to clarify here is just because you had that problem didn't mean it was a Snapdragon problem. It didn't mean it was something you did, and it doesn't mean that it wasn't another piece of software you have installed that I don't have installed. It could be any of those. I can tell you it wasn't a universal problem because I never experienced it. That's all I'm trying to say. It's not a flat fact that that update broke that for everybody. It broke it for you, but we don't know why. At least I don't know why. And that's how I make a living, because things break for some people that don't break for other people when the equipment's exactly the same. It's the software and the users that are the variables we can't control. And when it affects everybody, we all know about it. You don't have to tell me about it. It affects all of us. So welcome to my world, right? It's a bit of a tightrope to walk, because you don't want to insult your customer. You don't want to say, well, you did this. You just kind of have to be gentle with it and say, okay, look, I think maybe a different way of solving this problem you're having is not using that piece of software that you voluntarily put on there. And if we take that piece of software off and get you something that accomplishes the same task, these problems go away. So it's not that they did anything wrong, they just made a bad decision. And a lot of times the answer is, well, I saw a content creator do a video on this piece of software, that's why I decided. I'm like, well, they're not the ones you're calling to fix it, right? Now, if I'm the one who recommended it and it caused a problem, that's a different story. But you brought that on yourself. So if you want it fixed, you got to pay for that, or you got to figure it out on your own. And if you don't want to do either one of those, stay away from that kind of stuff. I can't emphasize it enough. Your actions, your consequences. All right, does anybody have any other questions? We're just over the 2-hour mark. I wasn't even sure I was going to get to the 2-hour mark because I thought, oh, this won't take very long. But I mean, it is me, right? If somebody can turn 20 minutes of content into 2 hours, I have that talent. But I love engaging with everybody. I love your questions, and I love the interaction. And I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for joining. Also, just a reminder, our friends over at it's VIP-URCDKEys. It's where I go to buy my Windows licenses and my Microsoft Office licenses. I don't know if you know, But Microsoft has disabled all telephone activation. It no longer works. You can call the number and the number says, sorry, we're not doing this anymore. What Microsoft wants you to do is they want you to have a Microsoft account and to activate your software through the Microsoft account. This has got a lot of people upset. I want you to know that some of the key sellers online want to basically sell you a pirated version. And it's hard to tell the legitimate sellers with legitimate activation issues versus the pirated software where they're intentionally pirating the software to work around the activation issues. What I can tell you is if you buy from VIP-URCDKEYs, it still activates online. That's the main thing. If you can put a product key and it activates online, you don't need the Microsoft account. But Microsoft keeps choking that down so that even if you get the latest version of, say, Office 365, you're going to have to create a Microsoft account to activate it. If you go to an older version of Office, like Office 2016, which isn't supported anymore, the folks at VIP-URCDKEYs will still sell it to you, and it'll still activate with a code. Other places will tell you you've got to do a workaround. Now, if I did that to a paying customer, I would put myself in such a financial liability that I would probably, just a matter of time before I'm held accountable and have to pay back customers. It's going to cost me a lot of money. What you do at home, you can do whatever you want, right? I answer to people. I have responsibility. People trust me to provide solutions and they pay me. And if they found out they pay me to deliver them stolen goods, oh boy. So it's really important that I'm able to buy my product keys from a reputable, genuine key seller. For that reason, you'll hear me talk about VIP-URCDKEYs. And I can get Windows 10, Windows 11, numerous versions of Microsoft Office at a fraction of what Microsoft wants to charge you. Like upwards of 90% less for the exact same product that's still legit, authentic, real. They also have 6 months of free support after the sale. Good luck getting any support from Microsoft. But regardless, I just want you to know it's an option for you. We have a coupon code that'll save you 25% off. It's the coupon code of Carey. This is not a commission-based link. If you buy it or you don't buy it, I don't make more or less money. It's one of those things where people who watch this channel, every single one of you should have a Windows computer. This is a Windows-based channel. There's over 1 billion Windows 11 users around the planet, just Windows 11. So we're not talking about a niche product. You don't often see me promote other products unless there's something like mostly universal most of us need. For that reason, the top two, no matter if you're a home user or an Office, is going to be Windows and Office. Those are the most common pieces of software I'm asked about from clients and from viewers. So I have provided the solution for you, not for me. This is for you, okay? If you want to use it, the links are in the video notes below. And I stand behind VIP-URCDKEYs 100%. If there's any problem, I promise they're going to help you. And if they don't, you tell me, you email me. We'll get to the bottom of it. Because trust me, if I find out anybody that I'm promoting here is ripping people off, I won't be promoting them anymore. So it's not a very good sustainable attitude to be burning people because you're going to run out of money real quick. You're going to turn off the money faucet because I'm not going to promote it anymore. And you're going to lose all those sales. It doesn't make any sense for anybody to give up future sales because they don't want to provide the support. But there are companies out there that do that, especially on the internet where anybody can pretend to be a company and they rip people off all day. I'm here to filter that out for you so you don't have, I mean, if you still want to experiment and have fun, but if you just want to get it done right the first time, you reach out to them, get your key, they accept PayPal, it's super easy. You don't have to talk to anybody. An email comes in with all the instructions on how to do it. And if you still run into problems, they'll help you. And even if they didn't help you, reach out to me directly. Nobody's had to reach out to me directly with a problem for over a year. I think the last one was somebody who mistakenly ordered the wrong version of Office, and they wanted their money back. And the problem, as you can understand, is it seems like they're a scammer. They bought the Office and used the activation key, which you can't return. It's, you know, so it's like, well, did they use the activation key or didn't they? Are they telling the truth, or are they a scammer, a customer? And it's like, well, we need to wait a couple days and see if that activation key was used, because if it was used, then you're lying. So it turns out the person wasn't lying. They genuinely just made a mistake at the purchase. And so they refunded their money, which was paid over a credit card. Well, credit cards don't pay instantly. PayPal does, but credit cards don't. So then they said, where's my money? They said they were going to refund it. Have you ever refunded anything on a credit card before and got an instant credit? I haven't. It takes a few business days to process that. So the customer made a mistake and ordered the wrong thing. They appeared to be a scammer in what they were trying to do, but it wasn't a scam, it was real. It took a few days to figure this out. Then they thought when the refund was approved, they were under the impression they were going to see that on their credit card statement immediately, which is not how any return on a credit card works anywhere in the world that I'm aware of. So I explained all this to the customer, because this is one of those rare occasions where I had to get involved and kind of sort through the mess. And we got it figured out, and the customer's happy, everybody's happy. But that's an occasion and an example where I got involved. Most content creators, when they're promoting something to their audience, and you buy it and have some kind of a problem with it, they say, hey, that's between you and them. I don't play that game here. Find me another content creator that does that. They'll maybe stand behind their own merch, but if they're promoting something and they're like, today's video is brought to you by, and then you buy that thing that they promoted and you have a problem with it, almost 100% of the content creators that do that here on YouTube will say, why are you telling me? That's between you and that. I don't do that. Just remember, if I'm promoting something here, it's because I use it myself and I stand behind it 100%. And I don't know anywhere else you're going to get that kind of peace of mind. But again, I don't profit from it. I'm trying to help you. All right, email address right here on the bottom of the screen. We'd love to hear from you if you want to share any experiences or you want some technical help, if we can help you. Right there, showcasecreate@gmail.com is how you can reach us. We love hearing from our viewers. Thank you again to Mark Gaines. Thank you to our friend Buster. Thank you to Frankie B the other day. I was thinking, did I thank him at the end of the show the other day? Such generous and kind members here. And thank you for all the folks in green for being members and supporting us here, so we don't have to do that whole little game with today's brought to you by a product I don't use. I have nothing to do with it, and I need the money. It's funny to me because I understand that's why some people have to do that to pay the bills. I don't have to because of everybody you see in green and our friends like Buster, Mark Gaines, Frankie B, Lou Greeny, and many others who also additionally contribute so that we're financially independent. If you're wondering how that works, that's how it works. Can you still, a Rip City Raider wants to know, can you still get a Windows 10 key and do a free upgrade to Windows 11? Yes. That's still what I do today, because the Windows 10 keys are a few dollars cheaper, and you don't have to put Windows 10 in. Just when you go to activate Windows 11, if it's Windows 11 Pro, make sure you're trying to activate with a Windows 10 Pro key. If it's Windows 11 Home, make sure you're trying to activate with a Windows 10 Home key. All you need is the key. You don't need the Windows 10 part of it. It will activate Windows 11 Home or Pro, depending on the key, no differently than a Windows 11. It can't tell the difference. Now, at some point, Microsoft will turn that free upgrade off, but that likely won't happen. At the earliest, if I had to guess, and let's face it, I have to guess, but based on what Microsoft has done in the past, when support for Windows 10 officially ends this October, that would be the earliest the free upgrade would be turned off, and likely, I would say till the end of the year. unless they extend it another year for Windows 10 support, which I'm pretty darn sure they're not going to do. Once that support ends, then the free upgrade traditionally also ends very soon, if not the same day, within a couple months after. So there's no indication it's going away for the next 9 months. It could, I'm guessing based on past data, but it's always been that way. It's never changed. If and when it changes and I'm aware of it, I'll make you aware of it. But yeah, I'm still buying Windows 10 keys. And I use those Windows 10 keys to activate Windows 11. And when you buy as many as I do, saving $3 per key times 100 keys, you can do the math on that. It can buy me a lot of RAM. Well, buy me some. See, who else is going to tell you that? Because most people are commission-based. They want you to spend more so they can make more. They're not looking out for you. They're looking out for themselves. Pay attention and listen to what these content creators are saying to you. Are they trying to help you, or are they trying to sell you to somebody else? And what's in it for them? There's nothing in it for me other than your appreciation and your loyalty that I'm a trustworthy source of information that you can come back to, and that I can find other trustworthy vendors that we can work with and partner with that help support our community, help support this channel. So for you to support them back, everybody's happy. Nobody's taking advantage of anybody. It's perfectly reciprocal all the way around. You're getting a legit product at a great price. We're getting support. We're getting your support. Who else does this? And that's the requirement that I have. No differently for my customers, by the way. I'm not going to rip a customer off. I'm going to charge them a fair price for the work. That's it. If they don't want to take the deal, they can find somebody else. I don't care. My goal is they appreciate my honesty, my integrity, and the fact that I do what I say. I mean what I say what I mean, and they appreciate, I'm not goofing around. I'm not, when customers call, they're usually desperate for help, and they're oftentimes, they don't have a lot of money. So it's like, let me get you a solution fast. Let's get it done right the first way, and let's not break your bank account trying to tell you you need something you don't need to have. And on the other hand, if you do need something, and as long as you keep it, you're going to keep having problems, I'm going to tell you that too. And what the customer wants to do is their choice, but I'm going to set their expectation right out of the gate. If you keep doing this, if you won't replace that hardware, this problem is there's nothing anybody can do. I can just keep fixing it for you, and you can pay me all that money every time, or you can use that same money to just replace the darn thing and stop paying me. It's a terrible way to run a business. Trying to save customers money is just, it only works if you have a ton of customers. So, but I sleep well at night. I know I'm charging a fair price for honest work, and if I make a mistake, I fix it at my own expense. Period. That should be the standard, by the way. There shouldn't be any other way. But unfortunately, we live in a world where people are out for themselves, and they'll, do their salesman thing, and I'm not a good salesman. I mean, you might think I am about how much I talk about this. I can't help it. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me and communicating here. We're sharing the experience here in the chat. And again, we bought all this stuff, everything you see. So that comes not from sponsorships, that comes from our viewers. You're our sponsors here, and thank you so much for supporting us. Thanks to Mara, as always, for all the work she does in the background, today's thumbnail, the video descriptions, the video links, answering your emails. She handles all the administrative side, working with companies so we can get products into review. And that's the part of the job I hate the most, and she loves doing it. So again, reciprocal balance. It's great. She's happy, I'm happy, and hopefully you guys are happy. And we'll continue on with a video review we've got coming up Friday of a manufacturer of a mini PC, I believe, called DreamQuest. Are they any good? I never heard of them. Join me on Friday, we'll find out together. Until then, bye for now.